I'm glad to see some people already put their noses on. That's cool. I'm glad I'm not afraid of clowns. I went to a bank last week and one of the tellers started to tremble because she knew that I was a clown, so I let the person behind me go. Um, anyway, on my way here, I used one of my tools. There were two cute girls with a father, and one was crying. So I said, "You're in a smile zone." I gave her that. I used to wear that in my police hat, particularly when I worked in the village. I had a chance to be Dr. Berger's classmate. I finished a year in the PhD program, and thanks to the Albert Ellis Institute, I'm not going to see myself as a failure because I just finished a year of it, but I learned a lot, a tremendous amount. On that card it says my father was a nurse, but my mother never nursed me, which is true. Anyway, let's see. The first class I took I discovered general semantics when I was in college. It's in the program. Not everybody reads the program. I was very happy to see my mentor last night, Alan Flagg. I didn't have much conversation with him, but I recall when I first started going to the Senior Citizen Center down the block from me when I realized I was eligible, 60, but I didn't go right away. I won the Halloween contest because I showed up as a clown, but I actually did perform. I did so I won a $25 gift certificate. I didn't want to add any calories to me, so I didn't eat the product that I redeemed. By the way, you look great. Excuse me, Professor Berger, you're in a smile zone. I just want you to know that. Okay. So anyway, I knew that Alan Flagg was in the hospital, so William Greenberg desserts, so I got him a cherry crumb pie, and I brought it to him, and he had his 4 lady visitors, and never saw him again until last night, so I was really thrilled. I took the training workshop when I was a rookie in the police department. And a lot of stuff that I do is inspired by that, and also William James, who said true wisdom is to be ready for anything. I see a lot of very intelligent people with their cell phones, everything else, walking right through a red light, sometimes with a cell phone. So I developed a lot of different gags. GS is a fabulous way to stimulate your imagination. I don't think general semantics is prepared for the mushrooming of interest that's going to happen. Like, for example, when I ran with Fred LeBeau in the marathon, he started out running around Yankee Stadium. Then he started running around Central Park, and then throughout the city. So it went from a couple of hundred to thousands of people. Similarly, I was involved in the gymnastics team, and that mushroomed. I went out with a chiropractor's daughter. I learned about chiropractic. That's very popular. General semantics is going to take the place by storm because there's a critical need for it. The beheading has to sort of subside a little bit. I think you'll agree with me there. And I just think it's a great tool. I was a substitute teacher. I got the class quiet by pressing that, and I lost my license. Some girl said I called it a man boob, which is not true. So I was 35 years. At least I got one joke out of it to help me cope. I was Naifong, that's the attorney in North Carolina who railroaded the Duke lacrosse players. So his name was Naifong. I was Naifong by the New York City Department of Beheducation. I fought it, but I lost. But eventually something will surface with that. Now, one of the things I did for the first time in January, which I guess gave me the courage to do this, is that I gave a talk at the National Shomrim Society Convention at Sea. That's the Jewish police officers. There's a breakfast tomorrow. Five-ish Finkel is the honored person. In any case, that talk was titled "Laughter in Law Enforcement: Partners in Crime Fighting and Stress Reduction." We all know, all the medical people know that a certain amount of stress keeps you alive, but if it's excessive, it wears you out and it promotes. By the way, as long as some of you have noses on, let me give you the 4 exercises I learned from my teacher, Mark Stolzenberg. Let's do a quick happy. If you're wearing a nose, go happy, sad, surprised, fear, anger. That's good. Those are good exercises to start your day with. Anyway, I have two firearms. They're in my apartment because when I retired from the police department in good standing, I was able to get a pistol permit. It's extremely difficult to do if you're not in law enforcement. I don't carry my piece with me, but I suppose I could. But I have a pistol license. And when I go to the airport, they say you have anything. As I'm going through the metal detector, I say the sharpest thing is what's between my ears. They say, do you have any bags to check? Yeah, check the bags under my eyes. I look for jokes all around. Like, for example, some weeks ago, there was a tall guy with a walker. You know what a walker is? He had his assistant from the Caribbean, and they're waiting for the light. So I said, my father had one of those. Dad, you do a good job, I'll get you a street walker. Yeah, well, I never say that to a nun, please. But anyway, something I did when I was a cop in the police academy, I did security. It wasn't the best assignment, but it was semi-retirement. Basically, I used to say good night and good morning, but some of the guys were bitching how long the elevators were taking, the instructors. So it just came to me, what's wrong with little weight training? So for all of you who are too impatient waiting for the light, and if you didn't get to the gym, just call it weight training. Sometimes when I'm at the light and parents are with a kid, I say, hey kid, give your mother a raise, she waited for the light. Or I've said to people across the way, what kind of role model are you? We got kids here, and they stop. Speaking of role model, that reminds me, on my business card, I have a roll with an X, and that's my Rolex. Where did that gag come from? Because I was outside of my deli, down the block. It's not related to India. Namaste Kesai, tika tika tumba chaha. Anyway, that's Hindi. Kamana chobalawachi dundabat, that's Bengali. Speaking of Bengali, I was in the Bagels and Company, and I heard somebody ask for the bagel, and I realized that's a joke. He said, what kind of bagel you want? So my question to you is, some of you, if I already told you the joke, don't shout it out. What's your favorite bagel at airports? Plain. Okay. Anyway, now if somebody, I don't use the word depressed. I'm glad I remembered, because I can't remember everything. As a matter of fact, I was going to do a handstand here, which I used to do as a cop in the locker room before I got in my uniform, before I went to teach, sometimes even in jail when I taught. I made sure the counselor was nearby. I said, let me show you how I get up for the class. And I did a handstand. Because I grew up in Coney Island. I used to do it when I was 10. But when I inherited a coffee table from my mother, it got too hazardous, so I stopped. And, I miss doing that handstand. Anyway, if somebody is depressed, I say, just get the word depressed out of your vocabulary. This is maybe something you could use. Maybe you could. Manny Ball, my social studies teacher, said, never mind the credit, give me cash. Anyway. Unfortunately, I have a magic trick, but it ran out of batteries, but I have this one. I'll get back to the depressed thing. See, sometimes people are drinking something on the train. I say, oh, you care for a light snack with that? I say, you got to be careful you don't eat too many because then you develop that condition. Then if it's an adult crowd, I say, last week I asked a girl to press that, and I said, can I do that to you? And she knocked me out because she was a knockout. Anyway, one time I was booed in the Macy's parade. I said, do you hear the story about the broken pencil? They booed me, so I said, I can't have booze while I'm working. So that works. There was a guy on Washington Square Park. You've seen a lot of performers over there, right, when you were in school? There was a guy up in a tree, Charlie Barnett. I was a cop on duty. I said, well, what are you, the branch manager? Get down from there. But anyway, getting back to depressed, I use the word blue. It means the same thing, but it has a different effect emotionally, blue. So you're feeling blue, then what I tell people is to think about 3 or 4 things which are the color blue. Can you give me an example of something that's blue?
The sky.
Absolutely perfect. The sky, the ocean, blue jeans, blueberries. And then if you want to go from blue, you add yellow, and then you have green, and you repeat the process. And before you know it, it's like a car in the mud. You get unstuck. And and the smile zone works. I never tell anybody to smile because you you're not controlling their emotions. Everybody runs that show themselves. I don't know how much time I have left, but I'll just mention this. Somebody mentioned zero tolerance. They raided my personnel file because when I was laid off from the police department, I said, long live love, a few slogans like in bakeries, crime is for crumbs, and post offices stamp out crime, but I said, make zero crime happen here. See, zero tolerance is baloney, it's garbage, it's impossible. But making zero crime happen here, that's a direction, that's an action. You have some power over that. And also my clown name, Earnest Desire, when I got rehired after the layoffs, I discovered we didn't have an earnest desire to fight crime. So 3 sources for that. One is the farewell address from the principal in junior high school. He said, pursue your earnest desires. Number 2, in the synagogue book, there was a word, a sentence saying earnest desire. And thirdly, there was a Haitian criminal, a felon, and his name was Ernest Desiree. So I turned it to regular English. And so I promoted more of an earnest desire to fight crime, lighting a fire under the tail of the guys. I've met a lot of the big shots, and I had a lot of press in the 80s and so on. So sometimes you'll do something and it'll stir other people to action, and you don't get any credit. Like, for example, when I was a senior at Hunter College, I was at the Salute to Israel parade. I was with a classmate, and I was behind the stands, and some white junkie, we're in the age of race, I'm just telling you, he was racing around with an attaché case. He stole somebody's attaché case. So I remember the time when I came home and I said, Mom, Dad, the JV coach football, he invited me to try out for the football team, and she said, they both said, you're allergic to grass, forget it. So there was the grass in front of me, and this guy was running away. I said, he's mine. So I chased him up to the mountain, and I said, look out, over his left shoulder. He looked, I brought him down, rubbed his elbows together, brought him down, and I said to the cop who was enjoying the parade, but now he had to make a collar, he's all yours. So my uncle, who was an inspector at the time, saying, oh, you should have claimed credit for it. You got a civilian commendation. What went through my mind is my mother said, if you don't claim credit, you get a bigger mitzvah. So there's an example where sometimes it helps to step up and get the recognition, to get the credit, and so on and so forth. 2 minutes left. Okay. Let me see. All right, so some of these jokes that you could do, I want you to do them, and you'll see the reaction. The bagel joke, the weight training. Anybody hear the story about the broken pencil? I already told you that, right? No point to it. Standing next to a garbage can. Like, for example, those guys who nobody talks to pick up the garbage in Manhattan. I say, hey, you hear the joke about the garbage can? Forget it. It's a load of trash. There are a whole bunch of them. I have a slew of them. Hear about this new band called the Burglars. They didn't break in yet. Here's one. I was riding the subway. I said, all right, I gave you a couple of jokes. You got one for me, and this is perfect for some of you. What's the difference between a teacher and a train and a teacher? You know that one? Train goes choo-choo, and a teacher says, spit out the gum. I'll leave you with this. I got the biggest laugh when I was in the funniest teacher contest. I didn't win because I didn't bring a lot of people spending a lot of money. But after I was finished, I got the big laugh, and it wasn't even a joke, and the MC tried it later, and it fell flat. After I finished doing my shtick, I said, any questions? And they all laughed. Anyway, do you have any questions before the question period? I have 1 minute. Anybody have a question? By the way, it's scary being an officer. You could do everything right and get hurt, and do everything wrong and not get a scratch. So with general semantics, here's another thing I use. Nobody owns their next breath. We hear of all kinds of horror cases where people had freak accidents and everything else. So that's useful. And so you can't control everything. You do the best you can. And yes?
If the job wasn't stressful for you, have you passed on your jokes or the idea of joking to the others?
I'm not quite sure I caught you, but you just jogged my memory. I'm the only guy who used to sing anti-crime songs to the guys in the paddy wagon going downtown. And that had an effect, and I worked in jail, juvenile delinquents. I said, I'm a retired cop. They said, F you. I said, no, I went to NYU, not F you. But I do have a couple of songs, the Hey Walker, Jaywalker, I Know a Mugger, and Hot Around the Collar. And if anybody wants to produce them, fine. I had a public access show. It used to be called Up Yours, but then I changed it to the Michael Fandal show. Up Yours could be positive. In other words, you want to improve your life, improve your romance, blah, blah, blah. You want to take the garbage off the street, Up Yours. But then I decided to use my name. And thank you very much, and thank you for the courage to have me here.